I bought my first home when I was 21 years old. I was living in Las Vegas at the time, working as a blackjack dealer. I held on to that house for, close to 10 years. Now, I didn't live there the whole time. I moved back to California, somewhere in the middle of it, to pursue my master's degree. But instead of selling the house, I rented it out. And by the time I sold it, the home had appreciated over 75%. And for much of that time, someone else was paying the mortgage on it for me. A few years later, my husband and I were fortunate enough to find ourselves in a position to consider purchasing more investment properties. Over the course of the next couple of years, we picked up 3 more properties. We lived close to the homes, and my husband is very handy, so we were able to act as the property manager. We cleaned them up first, we found tenants, we collected rent, we made repairs ourselves when we could, and when a tenant would leave, we'd do the process all over again. And for the most part, we had good tenants. Only once did we ever have to serve an eviction. I share this with you because it's with firsthand knowledge and experience as a property manager and as a landlord that I'm able to help my investor clients make investment purchases with confidence. If you're thinking about buying investment properties in Idaho but aren't sure what the market looks like, or maybe you've never bought investment properties before and you aren't sure how the process works, don't worry, because in this video, I will cover some of the types of investment properties you may see throughout the Treasure Valley and a few things you might want to know or consider before you invest in Boise, or anywhere for that matter. If you couldn't tell from my earlier story, I am a huge fan of investing in real estate. And that's not because I'm in real estate. Some of our investing was prior to my real estate career. But what I love about investment properties is that they become passive income streams that create generational wealth. Essentially, if done correctly, investment properties should pay for themselves. No, it doesn't always happen, and sometimes you're lucky to just break even. And occasionally there might be a monthly deficit on a rental property if your mortgage payment is more than what you can get in rent. But when you look at the possibility of long-term gains, it's usually well worth the risk. Again, I speak so passionately about it because it's something we do ourselves. We have investment property and we're always on the hunt for more investment properties. Let me step off my soapbox for a second though, so we can get into the nitty-gritty of investing in Boise. Let's first explore the types of investment properties you might find in and around Boise, Idaho, or what you will hear me refer to as the Treasure Valley. The Treasure Valley includes Boise, Garden City, Eagle, Star, Meridian, Kuna, Middleton, Nampa, and Caldwell. Obviously, you can find rentals in any of these cities, but I'm going to focus on those locations that drive the local rental market. Boise State University. Like, what a prime location to purchase a rental property or a multi-unit property or even a VRBO. When I say Boise State, I'm referring to an area within a certain radius of the BSU campus, typically within walking distance or biking distance or a very short drive, but then you'd need to pay for parking, and we're trying to avoid that. So every year there will be new students who want to live near campus but not on campus. And the homes in this area tend to be older but not updated, smaller in size. But because of their proximity to the university, rents will be at a premium. And of course, that means that purchasing an investment in that area may be more expensive than what you'd expect given the house you get. Yes, rents collected may be at a premium, but keep in mind renting to college students can be a higher risk too. There's going to be perpetual turnover, flaky tenants that know nothing about maintaining a home. But I know quite a few responsible BSU students who are in rental homes or apartments around campus, and I'd absolutely want to rent to them. So it comes down to screening potential tenants, but that goes for anywhere you have an investment property. I do think when shopping for investment properties near BSU, it illustrates the point that you are shopping for an investment property and not a home for yourself. Now, I realize that's not always the case. There are times where my clients purchased a home to rent out first, but have every intention of moving into it at some point. But in my mind, that's not an investment purchase. That's repurposing your future home. So again, I stress this is not a home you will live in. And why is that important? Let me give you an example. When I was growing up, my parents purchased an investment property in Los Angeles. It was like 10 miles away from where we had our current house. My mother was super jazzed to pick out the flooring and the appliances and the fashionable tile. They put in a pool. Like, they totally could have lived in this house, but that was never their intention. They went totally overboard to make this the best possible rental home on the market. They spent way more than they should have to purchase an investment property, but no one told them differently. Where was their real estate advisor saying, wait, hold up. You don't need to buy this home at a premium for it just to be used as a rental. Make it nice, sure, but it certainly doesn't need to be the nicest home on the block. The first couple tenants they had were great, but then the final tenant, the house was left in such horrible shape. So after owning the home for 10 years, my parents ultimately took a loss on it after having to spend so much money to fix it up. The repairs ate up the appreciation they had over those 10 years, and because of all the original upgrades that they put in, their margin was small to begin with. So my point is this: they didn't know any better, but now you do. You don't have to go all out when looking to purchase an investment property. It does not need to be the best or have the best fixtures or appliances. Nice? Yes. Clean? Yes. But these older, outdated homes near Boise State University are just that, and they work for college students. Yes, you may gradually need to update systems, but again, because of the home's location, you can probably get top dollar in rent and build that rainy day repair fund. In and around Boise State, you'll find not only single family residences, but also multi-unit options as well. Whether that's a duplex or a triplex, plenty of options out there. And because of the proximity to campus, VRBOs are also an option, although they may require a little more work up front, as it would need to be furnished and you'd need to get it dialed into a reservation system, but more on that later. We have two main hospital systems in the Treasure Valley, St. Luke's and St. Alphonsus. Rentals in communities only a short distance away from these various hospitals are traditionally strong investment options. St. Alphonsus has medical centers in Boise and in Nampa, while St. Luke's has its main medical campus just north of downtown and BSU. Then they also have a satellite hospital in Meridian. Healthcare is one of the largest industries in Boise, so rentals that are easily accessible to this demographic are great. The VA hospital is also near downtown. Just another reason to invest there. I was at the dentist the other day and I had a traveling hygienist, and it's not uncommon to find traveling nurses in Boise. So there you go. VRBO style investments can be options for them too. And healthcare systems are always recruiting physicians who may not be ready to purchase yet because they don't know where in the valley they want to be. I recently helped a pediatrician who had relocated from Washington move out of his rental near the hospital and into his first home. To piggyback off the last idea of finding investment properties near the main hospital systems because they are such large employers in the area, let's discuss other large employers like Micron. Micron is located in southeast Boise, and single-family residences near the Micron campus are attractive investment options. Now, I'm sure you're starting to see that there is a theme here. Proximity to large employers make solid investment sense. We first talked about Boise State, which is not only students, but professors and administrators and administration. Then you have large hospital systems, which again are one of the largest employers here in the Treasure Valley. Then we mentioned Micron. Other large employers are Blue Cross of Idaho and Sensi, which are both located in Meridian. Then there are a number of large employers located along the Interstate 84, either in Meridian or Nampa. You've got Amazon Distribution Center located in Nampa, and then north, Hewlett-Packard is located in West Boise. And that's just to name a few. Before I continue, my name is Erica Toffel, Global Real Estate Advisor with Group 1 Sotheby's International Realty. I specialize in helping families relocate to Boise, Idaho and the surrounding area. but that includes investment opportunities as well. If you need help with any of your real estate needs, reach out. My information is on the screen. And please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. I had a recent client who owned a rental property in California. They happened to live in Seattle, but wanted to do a 1031 exchange for a rental property in Idaho. So lots of moving parts. If you aren't familiar with 1031 exchanges, to oversimplify it, you are selling one investment property to purchase another without incurring any tax implications on the profit from selling the first property. Taxes are deferred as long as you hold on to these investments, essentially. There are guidelines that govern the 1031 process with strict time frames for identifying new properties and then closing on that property. So in highly competitive markets like we were seeing during the pandemic, 1031s, they were like a whole nother beast because you only had 45 days to identify the exchanging property, and we couldn't get a contract accepted within that. But sorry, I digress. Back to my clients doing their 1031 exchange. They weren't even really familiar with the Treasure Valley prior to deciding that they wanted to purchase an investment property here. So they made their initial trip, and we explored all of Ada County, and they decided they wanted to purchase a property in Eagle, Boise, or Meridian. We knew what their price point was, and our original plan was to find them as much square footage as possible within their price differential. But it had to be well-maintained square footage because they live in Seattle. We didn't want to have to go in and do a lot of work to get it ready for the first tenants. We wanted it to be nearly turnkey or ready to go when they bought it. So we narrowed the search down to a few homes. A large home in Eagle where they would be going over their budget, but they liked the neighborhood, and the home had so much potential for updating it in the future. Then we found a couple of homes in Boise that were reasonably priced and fairly clean, but nothing remarkable. And then we stumbled upon this neighborhood in Meridian that was centrally located to a number of large companies nearby. And there was this home, it was around 2,300 square feet, so a perfect size for a rental. It was super clean. The previous owners had done a few updates or upgrades to make it super charming, and the price was right. Actually, it was better than right. It was a steal. Ultimately, that home won out. They were getting a great deal on the home anyway, so even though there were a few minor things that came up during the inspection, but I was able to coordinate with a few different contractors to get the work done immediately, and we were ready to rent. I had introduced these clients to a couple of different property management companies during our discovery phase. So that way they could interview them ahead of time and get a feel for the property manager's style, their communication style, their fees, etc. Ultimately, the home rented within a few days of going live. The new tenants were moving from out of state, and guess what? The husband had gotten a job with one of the large employers nearby. This neighborhood was smoking hot for rentals. Whenever I was there at the house during those first few days meeting with contractors or cleaning up the yard, I was repeatedly stopped by someone driving by who wanted to rent the place. Keep in mind, at this point, it has already been rented. I must have had 4 or 5 additional inquiries on that one home because it had such cute curb appeal and it was in such a great location and neighborhood. Being able to recognize all of those factors and putting it all together to create a rentable package is super important when investing. Let's talk about the city of Eagle and purchasing an investment property in it. It's a very desirable city to live in, and I've done a couple other videos on the city of Eagle specifically. So if you're interested in taking a deeper dive into what that city can provide, you can always check those out. But rentals in Eagle can be a little bit weird, and here's why. Eagle trends more expensive than some of the other neighborhoods or cities throughout the Treasure Valley. So although tenants want to rent there, they may not want to pay the Eagle prices. See, landlords may have a higher break-even point than if they bought a similar home in parts of Boise, Meridian, Nampa, or Caldwell. Rents in Eagle will be higher than a similar home elsewhere. We have an investment property in Eagle, and it rents for more than a similar sized home in Meridian because it's in Eagle. Eagle also has what I'll term executive rentals, where they are bigger homes in high-end communities. You might also find these type of rentals in the north end of Boise or the Boise foothills, but that's not typically what I look for when I'm shopping for investment properties for my clients. These are usually primary residences that become rentals when an owner moves out of state, but they have so much equity in the home or they have such a low interest rate that it makes sense for them to hold onto the property instead of selling it. But high-end rentals take longer to rent out too. Another reason I don't recommend them often. But Eagle does have reasonably priced neighborhoods with homes around 2,000 or 2,400 square feet, and those can be super attractive options for investors because, again, renters want Eagle for its schools and its access to recreational activities. Now, Nampa and Caldwell, which are part of Canyon County, have strong rental markets too, but the rentals there are typically more modest. It's worth noting that the median sales price in Canyon County is lower than in Ada County. So they may have attractive deals there, but you need to be mindful of what the amount of rent that you would be able to get. I had clients that purchased a new build in Nampa. It was just west of the Nampa Meridian border. Brand new subdivision, new high school was going in nearby. They lived there for about a year and then their circumstances changed and they had to move out of state. So they asked about selling it. And honestly, to me, it didn't make financial sense for them to sell it yet. They wouldn't get all of their money out as the market had just started to soften. So I suggested they consider renting it to give the community a chance to create equity for them, allow the neighborhood to be built up, more infrastructure to go in. It took about a month for it to rent out and at a price below what they had hoped for, but a year into the rental, they're happy with their decision and they're glad that they held on to the property. We talked about rental properties in and around Boise. We talked about properties within close proximity to large employers in Boise, Meridian, Nampa. We've talked about rentals in Eagle and more budget-friendly options like Nampa and Caldwell. What about some of these other cities like Star or Middleton? I do have clients who wanted a rental in Star so they could be close to the parents, and I was able to find them a very reasonable rental in Star, but typically Star and Middleton aren't hotbeds for investments because they're farther out of town. One other location to mention would be Mountain Home. It's about an hour east of Boise and home to the Mountain Home Air Force Base. Prices in Mountain Home are less expensive than Treasure Valley for comparable properties. And with the Air Force Base located there, it opens up a host of investment options from single family homes to multi-unit. Would you consider buying an investment property in Boise, Idaho? Let me know in the comments below. Let's transition from where to look for investment properties to a few things to consider when looking to invest. Market trends are continuously changing, so I always recommend talking with a real estate advisor about what current conditions look like. During the pandemic, rentals experienced the same type of inventory shortage as homes for sale. We couldn't get our clients into homes because everything was flying off the shelf. And then there weren't enough rentals to house them when they couldn't find a home to buy. Now, in contrast, the market for home purchases has slowed because of such high interest rate, but in response, rentals are still an attractive option. As an investor though, rates may be the reason you aren't jumping into the ring. So then we still have low inventory on rentals, and it's just a tough market. Speaking of high interest rates, there are always creative ways to finance an investment. And if you're not purchasing with cash, then I absolutely recommend you reach out to a lender early in the process to know what you qualify for. With regards to investment properties, lenders will require a minimum amount down. Interest rates on investment properties are higher than that for primary residences, but the more you put down towards your down payment, the lower your interest rate can be. Again, in this market with high interest rates, it can make shopping for investment properties using a loan more challenging. But talk with a lender, see what your options are. If you don't have one, I'm always happy to recommend a few for you to talk to. So you've identified your investment property. You've secured your funding. Now you need to figure out how you'll be managing that property on your own or are you hiring a property manager? If you live close by, you have time on your hands, and you're handy, then absolutely consider managing it yourself. But if you're a remote landlord or already have enough on your plate or aren't handy, then I'd absolutely recommend hiring a property manager. A good property manager will be a wealth of information on what's happening in the rental market. They will have an inside track to service providers at their disposal should anything need repaired, and they will be the one answering the phone call at 2 a.m. if the water heater goes out. They also make searching for qualified tenants more streamlined because they have the advertising and the screening processes in place. Now, if it's a VRBO that is more your investment style, there are managers for that too. They will handle staging and furnishing, advertising, bookings, cleaning the rental, and of course, any issues that arise during a guest's stay. In the Treasure Valley, it's sort of hit or miss as to whether a washer and dryer are included in a rental. And I have a strong opinion on this. I feel like it becomes a bigger hassle, not only for the tenants, but potentially for you as the landlord. I had clients that relocated from Ohio. They were testing the water first and they weren't sure where they wanted to be, but we found them a great rental in East Boise. It was close to the trails and the shops, but it didn't come with a washer and dryer. So here they are, pulling up to town from across the country, and they have to hassle with going out and finding a washer and dryer for their rental unit, which means they ultimately are going to have to move that washer and dryer out again in short order. And in their case, the laundry room was upstairs. As the landlord, I don't want to risk tenants moving out large, cumbersome appliances every year and damaging drywall or door frames, let alone who knows if they connect the appliances right to begin with. And then there's a water leak from an improperly connected hose. So my personal suggestion, just purchase the washer and dryer for your investment home. Doesn't have to be new. You can find good deals on Facebook Marketplace. You'll also get better traction on prospective tenants if the unit feels complete. There may be advantages to setting up your investment property as its own legal entity or company. So I always advise that you reach out to a legal professional to find out the best way to handle your new investment. Same goes for tax advantages or tax write-offs. Consult your tax or accounting professional to find out what you need to know about preparing taxes when including investment properties in your portfolio. And please, please, please be aware and read through the CC&Rs on your potential investment property prior to releasing any contingencies in your contract. In fact, if you can do it during your discovery phase, even better. You don't want to find out right before closing, or worse yet, after closing, that the CC&Rs restrict rentals in the neighborhood. Investing in Boise real estate is rather diverse. There are so many available options to you. If you're a seasoned veteran at real estate investment, then you will see the value that investing in the Treasure Valley can bring. But if you're new to the idea, it's such a great place to start that journey. And even if the idea seems intimidating at first, then let's talk, bounce around ideas to see if we can find a path that makes sense for you. Because again, I love real estate investing as a path to create wealth. For more videos about investing or relocating to Boise, Idaho, and for real estate tips in general, make sure to check out the other videos on the screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.